Just go ahead and start it. These are more informal.
Okay. So I click start streaming,
Okay.
start recording. Let's check YouTube, make sure we're going.
Because we'll splice it here.
All right.
Mo will splice it here
Can
today.
You see that? Okay. Yeah, oh yeah, I was saying, can you see live? I'm up live now.
This is what it's
Okay.
We're working through
Right.
some live shots. We ready to roll?
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna turn the
All right.
exposure a little bit, make it look.
Hey everybody on YouTube. We're going live. We're
Yep,
panning some camera. We ready to roll?
How's it look on your end? Good.
All right. Welcome everybody. Jerome Maldonado with Real Talk on Real Estate. It's Friday morning, and I'm excited today because this is a topic that grows close to my heart, and I'll tell you why. We are talking today about types of land development in 2021. So those of you guys who know me and know my story, I've been telling people that what I do for a living is I sell dirt. And the reason why is because I've been developing land for over 25 years, and it's been a big integral part of our business and our success. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. But before we do that, a few house cleaning items and some updates for the week. For those of you guys who are joining us live, we're doing our real estate live Q&A next Wednesday
Get closer.
with LaDonna Smith. She's going to be joining us next Wednesday. She implements the BRRRR strategy. She's one of the original fortune builders, and she'll be with us live next Wednesday. And we have a lot going on right now. So we just closed on a $4 million property down in Puerto Rico 2 days ago. And we're gonna be doing some short-term rental on that one, and it's a beautiful property. Excited to have acquired that as part of the portfolio with Rev and Ty Lopez and Dr. Alex Meir. We have another one that we're undergoing and facilitating negotiations on right now, and it's going to be new construction, $7 million property, also in Puerto Rico. We got a lot of people moving into Puerto Rico because of the tax benefits and everything that's going on. So real exciting stuff. And we have some negotiations. Hopefully, we've been talking about finalizing the negotiations on this Chicago warehouse property that we've been working on. And some updates on that. The man that we're buying it from, super emotional on the property. He's real emotionally involved with it. It's his baby in so many ways, and he's put a lot of time, effort, and money into redeveloping that property. And due to unfortunate circumstances, he's forced to sell. And like I said, where there's times of distress, there's opportunity. So we're coming in, working with him to sweep up the pieces and get that property reacquired and repositioned to profit long term. So nonetheless, we should have that stuff solidified here by the end of today, hopefully, God willing. And then we have other stuff going on in regards to some acquisitions in Texas and in Arizona. So exciting stuff. But today is types of land to develop in 2021. And I'm going to talk to you guys about land development. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerome Maldonado, and we are live on Real Talk on Real Estate. It's Friday morning. And let's get started. So people want to know how to develop land. And this is an area that there's tons of profit. And like I've said in the past, look, you can have a building, you can have a warehouse, you can have an apartment complex, but it's the dirt it sits on that really starts the process. And so it's the dirt that and it's the idea and it's the development of that dirt that really starts the process on getting started in real estate. Because without the land, there is no real estate. You know, unless you're building, like I've said, space stations, or you're building, stuff over the ocean on piers. And even that, you have to drill down, and at some point in time, you have to hit land to be able to get stuff even over the ocean built. So unless you're building space stations in outer space, you need land in order to develop. And so one of the things that we've been doing, I want to share a story with you guys, because I never thought I'd be in the land development business. In fact, so much so that when I got started in real estate, one of the first acquisitions that I took down was a 1 acre property. I bought it from my mom and dad. And what happened was they bought this land to build their own personal residence on. I had already moved away, and this was when I was in my 20s, and I had 3 years of developing a network marketing company out of state and a year and a half here. So 4.5 years later, I come back and they decide, you know what? We don't want to build a new house. We just want to buy one. We don't want the stress and hassle of having to deal with general contractors and stuff. And at this time, I still was just in the infancy stages of getting my business parlayed and getting into construction and real estate. And so I bought this piece of land from them. It had an old house on it. And so for those of you guys who are looking at getting creative with stuff, this is a cool little story because it had this old house on it that was distressed, obviously, no windows, no doors. It had probably been vacant for 20 plus years, made out of old real adobe, mud walls. And I decided to come in and just devour the property and level it. And I thought to myself, what if I just cut this land in half and have 2 half-acre lots and I go and build 2 houses? So my whole thing was I was going to build 2 spec homes, two houses that I built. And then once they were finished being built, they went in and I sell them to other customers. So we didn't land up getting to the house part of it though. What I landed up doing was it took me about $5,000 to bring a big tractor in there and some dump trucks and literally devour the house, put it in dump trucks and haul it off. Scrape the dirt, made it look pretty, no weeds on it. And I went in and started talking to one of the city planners. And the first lot I did, I didn't know anything about subdividing land. So I used a survey company. They said, go, Jerome, to a survey company, have them plat the land for you. You know, plat where it sits and where you want to divide it exactly. And then once you get that, bring that back to us. And so I did just that. I went to a company called Survey Southwest, who's no longer in business anymore. The man is retired, and since he's off in Florida, enjoying life. But I remember going back and sitting, talking to Dan and telling him exactly what I was doing. He introduced me to a young lady named Sarah, and Sarah's actually the one that facilitated this. I hired them to do the survey plat. And when I got into the subdivide, I was busy trying to run and facilitate my company, and I didn't know what direction to turn. And so for those of you guys who are watching this going, oh my God, you know, I don't even know where to start. Well, I hired them for a couple $1,000s. I think I paid them $2,000, $2,500. They facilitated the meetings for me with the city development planners. So for approval, you have to put in an application to subdivide the land, right? And there's a little process that's involved for the approval of subdividing any land, any type of development that you're doing. And so Sarah went in and I became a part of it. I made sure I was there for every meeting, but she's the one that facilitated the paperwork, the surveys, the negotiations, the letters that had to go out to the neighbors around the property. And about 3 short months later, I had the property subdivided right in half, a super simple little subdivide. Well, I purchased this property for $30,000 from my parents. It's what they paid for the property. I bought it from them for what they paid for it. Then I went in. They had the land for about 1.5 years, 2 years. I had the land for a few months. So just shy of 2 years of ownership. And I go in, subdivide the land. Now that I improved the land, I got rid of the house, I put the land for sale for $75,000. Well, we cut that land in half. And I said, you could take each lot for either $40,000 or the whole thing for $75,000. And so I had a guy come in, and for $75,000, he bought the whole thing and saved himself $5,000 on the sales price. And he bought it, and then he put 2 modular homes on there on permanent foundations. Hence, I landed up walking away with about $30,000 to $35,000 in profit on one simple subdivide. And it didn't cost me much money. You know, it was just a simple little deal. And I remember my dad turning to my dad, and my dad telling me, I want half of the $30,000 that you made on the property. I said, it's too late, Dad. You could have done that yourself. And so it was a little inside family joke. But the reality was it was just a simple little transaction on the side of everything else that I was doing as far as business. And on that one little transaction, it was a little $30,000 profit that I made in 3 months. Profitable, was able to take that capital. And what I did with it is I started developing and building in another area of town, and I started buying vacant land. I said, man, if this works for this one lot, what if I incorporated this in different areas that are more pronounced, better areas? I bet I can make more money. So that's exactly what I did. I started getting into land development. Well, I have stories upon stories and stories about how we develop land, and we can't get into all of it today, unfortunately, but I do want to bring you guys at least the bones and whistles of what we do and how we do it and what we're facilitating now in 2021, and deals that you guys should be looking for in 2021 to invest in that is profitable, and some of the real estate stuff that I've been talking about over the last 2 years, and how you can become a part of industrial warehouse space and other sectors of real estate. But when you acquire that asset, if you even find properties that have excess land, what you can do with it, how you do it, and how you can generate profits over the long haul. So understand that real estate development can be done by anybody, but there is a process involved in doing it. And so the objective for today is being able to give you some of that. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this topic and you want to hear more content related to land development, how to land develop, I want you to pound that thumbs up button right now on YouTube. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us for more content just like this. Now, as we move through this process, I want to be able to bring Daniel up. Daniel is my right-hand man, helping us in the development of everything that we're doing here with the Elite Real Estate Society. He's going to be facilitating phone calls and questions. You guys can ask some questions in the chat. We'll have Dom forward us over any of those questions. Please make this interactive on your behalf. And for those of you guys who want to join us live, we'll bring in maybe 1 or 2 calls, and you can join us at 505-975-0689. 505-975-0689. Call us live. We're happy to take 1 or 2 calls as we move forward through this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, types of land to develop in 2021. So that was how I got started in real estate development, and I'll tell you that as we move forward, we've taken down some acquisitions, and a lot of what I've learned has been almost on accident in a lot of ways, because a lot of it wasn't methodical, where I sat down and said, okay, this is going to be my big win. In fact, so much so that when I got into real estate development, I would just go in and look for little plots, and I was doing it on the side initially, trying to make a little bit of extra money on real estate while I was running my construction company, and while we were going out there pouring concrete all over the country, and as we were building homes, and as we started developing, we started buying one lot at a time, building out spec homes, which are custom homes. They were custom spec homes that we would build out completely. I would design them with our architect, come in and finish them completely, then we put them for sale. And so one of the big things was, once I started doing this, I started realizing that the largest profits in building real estate in my homes came from the land itself. And so just like in commercial development, it's the exact same thing. So for those of you guys who've been following our graduation classes from investing in residential real estate to commercial real estate, understand that everything that we do, the Chicago property right now, when we go in and we look to acquire a property that has an asset on it already, right? So you have an asset on there, there's already a building on that property. Now, I always ask, one of my first questions, how much acreage, how much land is available with this building? So let's say that the building itself needs 3 acres in order to facilitate parking, the building, and the landscape requirements, everything that's involved with that. But now you have 6 acres that it's sold with. Now, once you put a dwelling on that 6 acres, the other 3 acres, they don't the appraisers and banks don't look at it as an appraised value as part of the asset. So the land, I always tell people, is free. And so we've done this multiple times where we go in and buy a commercial property. I have one down the street, in fact, where our construction yard is, where we have an old historic building that was built back in the 1800s, and a part of it, and then it was added on over the course of time. And we turn horse stables into storage units, and then we have commercial buildings where we have a huge day spa, and then small apartments in the back. And this property brings us in 6 figures a year in rental income. But not only that, when we bought the property, the reason we bought the property was not just for the rentals up front. It was financially distressed. It was physically distressed. The property was garbage at the time that we bought it. So we went in, we purchased it. And the reason I bought it is because I saw all of this real estate up front that housed about maybe 8,000 or 9,000 square feet of real estate in the front, about another 2,000 square feet in the back. So under roof, we have 10,000 square feet of real estate to rent, but there was acreage in the back. We had 3 acres of real estate in the back. And I thought, you know what? This is zoned for apartments. I can build out later. But for now, I'll use it as a construction yard. We'll park vehicles back here. We'll run our business for free. We'll park our trucks, our equipment, all of our stuff, and the whole front end will pay for the asset. It'll pay for the placement of my business. I'll be rent free. Plus, I have income and cash flow every month, month in, month out, every single month of the year. And so it does 3 things for me. And so we can go back in and we can develop that land in the back, and it's already subdivided. We already did that. When we purchased the land, we sectioned it off. We said, okay, this front section is commercial use. This back section is multifamily residential use, so that we can build it out later on. So we already had a foresight of what the property is going to do over the course of time. So we just go in and we subdivide that. We set the parameters on what the subdivide is going to be, what the zoning is going to be, and then we go in and we purchase based on that. The warehouse in Chicago, same thing, 26 acres. The whole entire property right now runs on 10 acres of the land, with 3 acres that they're renting out to a tent and event place. And so 13 acres is getting utilized, 13 acres is vacant. So the upside to this property is not even the upside to the property. The upside of the property is not even the building itself. The upside to the property is the land, the free land that we can develop, that we're acquiring for free, a free 13 acres. And here's why. Because with that property, you know, I was on an investors call this past week for Retail E-commerce Ventures with Ty Lopez and Dr. Alex Mayer, and I presented the property to all the investors. And we have some of the most intelligent minds that are on the call. All these people are 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, business owners that are wealthy, right? All these people are accredited investors. We have 200 every single week that are on this call. And one of the big things was I was getting questions. They said, what's the cap rate, Jerome? What's the capitalization rate? What's my cash on cash return on my investment if I come in and invest with you guys on this property? And I said, well, we're at an 8.5 cap. But 8.5 cap, as good as that might be, which is a great cap rate, I told them, understand the value in this property is in the internal rate of return, is in the potential of this property. It's what we can do with it. And so for those of you guys watching this, hear me out here, because this is where you can become creative with real estate and start generating big profits, because you're already on the upside on this property. Because if we have 13 acres of free land, and the reason it's free is because it can't be appraised in that property. If I went and bought that same 13 acres, backing Target distribution centers with over 300 million, with over 3 million square feet, it's over 3 million square feet of warehouse space that Target has, backs our property. 3M has over 1 million square feet of warehouse space. Ferrara Candy has another 1.2 million square feet of warehouse space. And Facebook is unleashing 3.1 million square feet of warehouse space, mixed use industrial warehouse space, and 1 million of it is already under construction. And this is all within a half-mile radius of where this land is. There is no more land available for commercial use and development. It's been purchased. Target owns it, Facebook owns it, 3M owns it, Ferrara Candies owns it, and this property happens to sit in the cusp, in the middle of the belt of all of that. And right in the middle of that is 13 free acres. And the reason that I say it's the internal rate of return is because where are you going to go and find 13 acres in the middle cusp of all of this massive development? And my answer to you is you're not. There's none available. There's residential acreage. You can go build some homes, but for commercial industrial use, you can't. And so we have 13 free acres to develop if we buy the property. So buying it, even at an 8 cap, has cash flow. Now we have land. The land is free. So we're already starting off on the upside. We could go in, engineer a property that's LEED certified, which means we have tax benefits now to be able to build a LEED certified building with all the perks and whistles, of new construction facilitated with all the new energy codes, the all new construction development codes for 2021. We take that old building that was built in the 60s. This gentleman put over $2 million in renovations, in value adds to this property to try to get it LEED certified. Then he got stuck and lost and didn't have the capital to finish it. So he was right there. So we have all the benefits of $2 million of value add that he put into the property, value based on current rent rates, and the property is only 2/3 leased. So we have over 50,000 square feet vacant, 100,000 square feet leased, an 8.5% cap rate, but we have 13 acres of free land. And so I'm going to take this property and I'm going to refinance this property and take cash out on it. We're going to lease up the other 50,000 square feet. Our cap rate's going to grow to 12%, 15%, whatever it is that we can get it to grow to. Then we're going to refinance it out at about a 6 cap to the bank. We're going to take that money and for a construction loan to develop the new piece of 13 acres that's free land. And then when we develop that out, we're going to get premium lease rates on that property based on comps of Facebook, 3M, Target stores, Ferrera Candies, and all of the lease rates that are facilitated in that area, which are at the height of the market. And then we'll be able to either sell off the front asset that was built in the 60s and pay off everything, or we'll keep it and just let it cash flow. Who cares? If we're cash flowing, why sell an asset that cash flows? That's a win-win situation. And so people are sitting back, and I know right now you're going, okay, how do I do this, Jerome? How do I get involved in this? With small acreage, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we've been talking about investing in industrial warehouse space for years, and you can find properties like this. I have a little business model that we use where you can go in and purchase industrial warehouse space between 10,000 and 15,000 square feet. And the key acreage on that is about 3 acres, because with 3 acres, you can run a 10 to 15,000 square foot building on 1 acre to 1.5 acres. And so if you have 3 acres, you can develop the other 1.5 acres and put another building on it. So if you pick up that asset for, let's say, $450,000, you could go and reposition that asset, get it leased. You target market that the lease rates prior to going in and purchasing the asset. Now you can develop the other 1.5 acres. You could put another building on there, just like we're doing with 150,000 square feet. You go in and redevelop 15,000 square feet. And so the profitability is huge for people. And so the way you start, though, is just with little pieces of land. And there's a process involved in it. And I want to be able to unfold and unveil some of the stair-step process that we don't nearly have the time to go into all the depths and details today. But the biggest thing is understanding that there's opportunity there and there's profits there. And in times of distress, there's opportunity because people start to sell. So you could go in, and even with distressed retail, people come back and they say, Jerome, how do I get involved with distressed retail? And this is how. Because once the asset distresses the land, let's say for sake of example, we had a 450,000 square foot shopping mall, not a retail center, a shopping mall that sat on over 45 acres of land, okay? There was, on the 45 acres of land, had the big mall, and then it had small sectors of real estate on it where it had portions of the land had been subdivided out, and they had a Bank of America, they had a Sprint store, and they had a Red Lobster, they had a Dollar Tree. And so they have all these pad sites that are subdivided out of the land. And so what we said, well, why don't we buy this based on its current rates? They were asking $4 million for it. We wanted it for $3 million. Now, let me ask you, where in America, in a pronounced city, do you go in and buy 50 acres of developed land where it has all the utilities, the water, the sewer, the electric, the gas? Plus it has pad sites with rental income. Well, there was a McDonald's on the front end of this as well. That they used to get lines around the whole McDonald's and out into the street. And so you sit back and go, okay, what if we sell off the McDonald's pad site? The McDonald's is leasing the pad site to us for $1 million. And then we sell off the pad site that has the Sprint store and the Red Lobster for $1.1 or $1.2 million. And then what if we kept this other pad sites, the other two, where the Dollar Tree was, and the other pad site where like the Silly Posturepedic mattress firm place is sitting in there, and we kept some rental income. We acquired the entire property for $3.5 million. We sell off 2 of the pad sites, pay more than 50% of it off. Now we're only into the property for just over $1 million. We service our debt with the 2 pad sites from the Dollar Tree and the mattress firm and the other small tenant that's in there. Now we're servicing our debt, and we're almost completely debt free on this property. But we just acquired 450,000 square feet of a shopping center and 50 acres of land. We can go in there, plummet it, and just grade and blade the land, and then we can just redevelop it into whatever we want, multifamily, apartment complexes, whatever it is. And we just acquired free land. And so one of the best ways to acquire land for land development is through the means of distressed assets. Because in commercial real estate and even residential real estate, the property is only worth as much as the dwelling itself. And so what ends up happening is if you have an empty retail center, if you have an empty warehouse, if you have empty office build space, the way the banks, the commercial lenders look at the property is based on a financial model of appraisal, not based on what it would cost to build that property, because that's one thing that the gentleman in Chicago has been telling us. Look, the replacement cost is $9 million to rebuild this exact same building. And I go, I don't give a shit. I don't care if it's $9 million to rebuild this building. It's only worth $3 million because of the cash flow on it. I need it to cash flow at an 8% or better cap rate. And so with all that land, no bank in this world is going to finance it for more than $3 to $3.4 million based on the revenue that property brings in. So if you find a little shopping center, a little retail center that has no income in it, it might be a replacement cost of $1 million to rebuild that. But it's not worth any more than $250,000 to $300,000 because it has no rental income. There's no cash flow on it. And so one of the big things is that when you go in and you look for distressed assets and people go, how do I reposition this stuff? I mean, I could get it for nothing, but then what? What do I do with it? You tear it down. You hire somebody to go in, you tear it down, and you rebuild something that's going to be profitable. Or you just gut it and you re-renovate it and you reposition it into housing. One of the big business models right now that's trending, that's huge, is cities are trying to figure out, okay, what the hell do we do with all of this vacant retail land in the hundreds of thousands of square feet? What do we do with this stuff? How do we position this real estate where it doesn't distress our city? And so developers are now finding ways to go back in there and put in housing on this land, either tearing it down and putting housing on the land or restructuring the assets and renovating it so that they can put housing internally, whether it's multifamily, whatever they're doing, depending on the structure itself. But they're able to acquire these assets at such a discounted price that they have the affordability to do that. So understand that you can do the exact same thing with what I call the trickle effect. And what the trickle effect is you go in, if you don't have the capital to get into these big assets, you go in around where people are redeveloping these assets in cities where this stuff is happening worldwide, not just nationwide. This is happening worldwide. So if you're streaming in from Canada, Australia, no matter where you're streaming in from in the world, you can develop and do this exact same thing anywhere where you're at. You go in and you find distressed assets. And typically what we'll do is we'll go into the building and zoning department in whatever municipality that we're looking at doing this. And we sit back and we learn, we go in and see how resistant they are to us repositioning this property. So one of the first things is we look for the assets. One, we look for the assets, right? We look for the assets. Then once we find the assets, we sit back and go, okay, what can I do with it? Okay, so you decide what the use is going to be. So what is the use? Okay, and the way I determine what the use is based on paper and pens and a calculator. I sit back and say, okay, if I want to reposition this into housing, or if I want to reposition this into office again, or if I want to make this industrial warehouse space, what are my current lease rates right now in the area? And is there a need for it? Am I like just thinking in outer space? Like, am I just thinking, hey, Jerome thinks that they need industrial warehouse space, but do they really? Is somebody going to come lease from me? Am I going to get support from this? Do I have people advocating in my corner? Do I have people saying, hey, Jerome, I need that. I want to be able to lease there. So here's what we've done forever. When we were doing developments back in the day, we would advertise to see if we got traction on the lots that we were buying. When we were doing, we did an RV storage place years ago, and this was before the internet was real big. This was like in early 2002. I remember buying a piece of land. There was no Craigslist and all these advertisement place platforms that there are now online. We had to just advertise in the newspaper. So I'd go in and put a little newspaper ad in on the Sunday paper, and I would run it all week in the Journal, the Tribune, the morning paper, the night paper, and I would sit down and say, okay, we have a property and we have available lease, and I would just write out an ad that said available RV storage, camping trailer storage, vehicle storage. Lease rates vary from $75 to $150 a month. And I put the phone number. And I would just check and see if anybody would call. And even if I didn't have it and it wasn't set up, I just wanted to know if there was calls. Once they call, I'd say, yeah, we're just proposing to put a storage place. We just want to see if there's a market for what we're proposing. And if my phone didn't ring, I'd say, okay, well, there's not a market for this. Why would I go into it? Why would I purchase this land? But on that individual, property, my phone rang off the hook. I had people calling me the next day. I was like, holy good gosh, I better buy this land and I better get RV storage on it, right? So then I go to the zoning department and I say, okay, what do I need to do to get a special use permit, a zone change, whatever I need to be able to store RVs, camping trailers, and vehicles on this lot? And they said, well, first of all, you need to put a proposal together and you need to draw out exactly what you're planning on doing so we can visually see it. And then before I wanted to get involved with a bunch of money, I would say, well, would you support the idea? Does the zoning even support the idea of what I'm proposing at doing? And so if I felt resistant, I said, well, no, there's too much residential housing in this area. If we do this, it's going to disrupt what the homeowners want. We wouldn't really support it because we really like to see a park there, or we'd really like to see more housing there, or we'd like to see X, Y, and Z there. And they'll tell you, or they'll say, you know what, we don't really have this on our development plans and our development sites, but it's currently zoned as C1, which is commercial, which you cannot park vehicles there, but you can get. You could increase the zoning to a C2 zoning, which will allow it. And I'm theoretically speaking, every municipality has their zoning, what their zonings are labeled as slightly different. And so you would go in and get more of an industrial use commercial permit for parking vehicles in it. And so you go in, they say, you know what, we would support that provided that the neighborhoods would support it as well. So then you have to mail out letters and you go in and you acquire the property on what I do now is acquired on an option. Or I put a purchase agreement together contingent on my ability to do what I want to do with that land. And so when we go into any project, just like the warehouse building, we have already contacted the local municipalities to make sure that they support where we're going. So the first thing you want to look for an asset, then you want to figure out what it is that you want to use that asset for. What is the land going to be used for? And so that's the process that we utilize to test the market. We want to go in and make sure, is it viable? Okay? Is there money? Because at the end of the day, everything revolves around profit, right? You want to make a profit doing this. You want to make sure that you're protecting your financial interest and the interest of other people's money. If you have investors coming into the deal with you, you want to make sure it's financially viable. And so what is the use of this property? Now, once you figure out what the use is, you can go in and talk to the city and do your proposal, okay? Now, you've already done some slight market tests, right? Because we're growing wiser and smarter as we watch this. We're coming in with more information. You're sitting back, light bulbs are going off. You're saying, okay, I'm going to go look for properties. I don't know what type of properties. I'm just going to look for properties. I'm going to go look for distressed retail, distressed warehouses. I'm going to go look for, or not, maybe not even distressed. Maybe they're being leased and they're being rented and they have a modest cap rate, but there's free land on the deal. You're going to go start looking for vacant land in areas, old distressed gas stations that we could turn into car lots, take out the gas tanks, be able to use the old gas station, the old retail center, and be able to put a car lot. I got one a block from here that we do that, and I've had a 5-year lease from a guy that wanted a space to lease for a car lot, and I found this old gas station that had been distressed, been sitting there empty for like 10 years. No gas pumps. The gas tanks underground had already been removed, and it's just sitting there with a building. And I sat back and I drove by this building one day after this guy was trying to get a car lot on it, and I called the people up and I said, "Hey, you guys interested in selling?" And they're like, "Yeah." They go, "What would you guys sell that property for?" And they go, "I don't know, make us an offer." And I said, "Well, it's been sitting here vacant for a long time. How about $60,000? And they're like, "Well, how about 80?" And I'm like, "Okay." And I just kind of threw an artificial number super low out there, and they're like, they took $80,000. The property was 1.5 acres. It had a fence around it already. The zoning was perfect. And so we went in, cleaned up the inside for them. They made a sales office there, and they've been there for 5 years on an $80,000 asset that we leased to these guys for over $2,000 a month. And the asset, I landed up paying for it cash, pulling my money out of it. My whole payment out on that property is less than $1,000 a month. I think we pay like $800 a month, and my profitability on that thing is like $1,200 a month on a stupid, simple little acquisition of this little distressed gas station that I wasn't even thinking about until I got a phone call one day, and I just happened to stumble across it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how you find these deals, because people are like, okay, they get anxious. I know people are watching this going, okay, well, how do I find these deals? They're out there. They're everywhere. These deals are in your backyard. They're right behind your house. They're right next door to the grocery store you shop at every single day. They're right down the street from the fueling station that you put gas in your vehicle in every single day. The daycare that you drop your kids at, there's property right next door to it that you can do this with. The mechanic shop that you take your car to get fixed, all the places that you're already in your circle of your environment, these properties exist right now. The only problem is you've been driving past them with your eyes closed. And what I mean by your eyes closed is you have your blinders on. Your eyes are closed and you haven't opened your blinders to see potential in distressed assets. And so people are sitting back around. You ever had like your sunglasses on your head or your car keys in your hand, and you're running around your house going, "Oh my God, where are my car keys? Where are my car keys? Where are my sunglasses?" And then all of a sudden, 10 minutes of running around your house, and you're like, "Oh shit, my sunglasses are on my forehead." Or, "Oh my God, my keys are in my hand." That's distressed assets, ladies and gentlemen. It's right under your nose. You're running around in circles trying to find properties, and they're right in front of you. Right in front of you. And they exist everywhere. The biggest thing is you have to, one, just open your eyes, take your blinders off, and look at assets differently. You need to stop looking at properties that you see every single day as just some distressed property on a street corner, and you start opening your eyes and saying, "You know what can I do with it? What is the potential here?" But don't go in and open a restaurant in a restaurant facility that's been shut down, that's been 20 restaurants in the last 10 years. Because that's what people do. They go, "Oh, there's this property and there was a restaurant there. Guess what I'm going to do in that property? I'm going to open up another restaurant. Only 15 restaurants have failed there, and I'm going to go in and open up another restaurant because I'm going to be that one that succeeds." No, you're not. You're going to fail too. Restaurant doesn't work there. For some reason, restaurants don't work there. Reposition the property to do something that will work there. How do you know what's going to work there? You market test. You advertise it before you even buy the property. And you make sure your phone's going to ring. You make sure people have interest in what your idea is. And if they don't, you don't buy the property. But if they do, you buy the property. That piece of shit property's been sitting there for years, empty. Buy it, go in, talk to the city, reposition it, and then lease that asset for nothing. That's how you get wealthy in real estate, ladies and gentlemen. But you have to take off your blinders, and you have to look at real estate in a different way. You have to start opening up your eyes to look at this stuff. And it's the people that can see value in trash that no one else can see, that they can reposition to profit from it long term. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how you develop real estate. That's how you truly go in and get wealthy in real estate. That's how in 2021, when we're living in a market where the pandemic has distressed so many commercial properties, so many business owners have been financially beat up and mutilated over 2020, these are the properties that you can go in and reposition and figure out what you can do with it. Is it financially viable? Is there a market for it? And does the city support my plan? Then you go in, you negotiate a purchase price, you take down that acquisition, you do whatever renovations you need to do, you deal with the city with subdividing and repositioning that property. And once you have all that process done, and you hire the professionals to help you. But the first deal, don't do it. Partner with somebody. If you're sitting back going, okay, well, what do I do? How do I do it? You need to continue following us. You need to hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to start slowly unveiling land development, opportunity training to be able to learn and understand how to go out and develop real estate. So if you'd love to see more content like this, we want to know. Because if I'm sitting here talking to myself, what I'm doing right now is I'm market testing. I'm market testing you guys. I'm sitting back going, is there a market for me to teach you guys how to develop land and distressed assets? Is there? I don't know. I know I've made millions of dollars doing it. I don't know if you will. All I know is it's worked for me. Well, my question is do you have interest in learning how to make millions of dollars doing what I still do every single day? I'm not teaching about it. I'm asking you, should I teach on it or should I not? Do you have any interest in learning how I've made a shitload of money in real estate, or would you rather go figure it out through Airbnb and something else? There's money in that too. But do you have interest? I'm market testing you guys right now. I market test everything. Real estate, you guys, everybody, everything. I'm sitting back going, is there a market for what we're getting ready to produce for you? Do you guys have interest in learning how to do the stuff that I'm talking about today? And if you do, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a big fat thumbs up and let's roll this stuff out and let's get you guys some content on how to develop real estate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what time is it right now? 10 o'clock?
10 on the dot.
Yeah, cool. So, anything specific that's come in or no?
Nothing's coming in.
Okay, so look, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you guys who are watching this live, and you guys have questions, you guys are welcome to join in on us. Now, you can call in 975-0689, area code 505-975-0689, 505-975-0689, or you guys can comment below. Now, if this is a rewind, this is a rewatch, and you guys are going back in, and you guys are watching this later, I want you guys to comment in the chat, reach out to us, to me and my team, so that we can reach back out to you via Messenger, DM us on Instagram, on Jerome Maldonado and the #1, or right here on YouTube, where we can go in and reposition it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we do have a question.
Yeah?
Somebody said, I would love to learn, but I'm super new. How much experience do you need?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's probably about 90% of people's question right there alone. That and how do I get financing on deals? So you don't need a lot of experience. When I first got started in real estate, in subdividing real estate and developing, I didn't have much money. You know, I was new to the game. I thought I had a lot of money back in those days, but it was just a modest amount, you know, and I got started with almost no money. And I just found one simple property to subdivide. Like I mentioned earlier, it was a 1 acre lot, and I just subdivided right in half. And I made it feasible for 2 homes to be put on what was once just a single lot. And I was able to turn a $30,000 profit in less than 3 months on just one simple land acquisition. And so I had the capital to buy the $30,000 lot when I first purchased it. That was all I had. And I used everything I had to buy that land. And then I made another $5,000-$6,000 to subdivide it. And then I landed up selling it for $75,000. And so I landed up walking away with over $30,000 in profit. And so for those of you guys who have absolutely no money and no knowledge in this, one of the big things is, one, following our content so that way you can learn, you know, the steps. And we offer a mentoring program as well. You know, Daniel, who works directly with me, running all of our mentoring stuff, dealing with client questions just like that is perfect, because people that are brand new, just like yourself, can join us on Wednesday nights on our live Q&A. And it's made for people just like you. So you can come in and say, okay, I found a little property, Jerome, that you talked about right down the street from my house. Take some pictures of it. We bring you in on our live Q&As on Wednesdays, and we screen share with you, and you show us the property. We use your property as an example, and we underwrite the deal together right there live for everybody. And we sit there and we decide, is it good or is it not good? And if we decide it's not good, we tell you, great job finding something. This is why it's not good, or this is why it's good. And either way you learn. And so the way you get started is by trying things. Without trying them, you'll never get started. As far as financing and stuff like that, there's so many different means to getting started. And a lot of these properties that I'm talking about, believe it or not, when they're distressed, the owners will allow you to go in and do what's called owner finance deals on them. And so I encourage people that are looking at getting started in dealing with distressed assets, land development, or any of this, is to find owners that are willing to finance the property for you. And what I mean by that is they're not going to the bank pulling out a loan on your behalf. They are the bank. The owners who own the asset become the bank. You go in and you purchase them through owner financing. You deal with the same exact type of closing process that you deal with on any type of asset that you buy through a normal conventional lender. The only difference is they become the bank. So instead of making payments to Bank of America, or instead of making payments to Wells Fargo, or instead of making payments to any of the big JP Morgans, Chase, or any of the big guys, you make a payment to them or the escrow company that you've chosen to facilitate and assist you with that purchase. And so everything, you don't have to worry. If you do things right, you can purchase these properties without any liability, allow them to be the bank, and you can go in and reposition that asset and decrease your liability and be almost no money out of pocket. And then you just have to get creative and learn the simple processes that I'm talking about. And so one of the big things is being able to be led to the right people, right? The right professionals. So if you're sitting back and you're new and you're sitting back going, okay, that all sounds great, Jerome, but now if I acquire it, I have no money down, now what the hell do I do with it? The biggest thing is knowing who to call. Because like I did on my first deal, I hired Survey Southwest to help me redevelop the property and subdivide it for me. I paid them a nominal fee. Then once I learned how to do it, then I started doing it myself. But the first one, I hired a professional to help me. I was able to take a small margin cut to hire somebody who knew what they were doing to help me so that I could learn the process and then do it myself. And so what I encourage people to do is, if you don't have that knowledge, know who the professionals you need to reach out to are, so that you can come in, reposition those assets, hire a professional, pay them a modest fee, so that the top end for you is promising and profitable, so that you can go off, grow your assets, and then go in and redevelop. So look, ladies and gentlemen, do we have any other questions on there? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Real Talk on Real Estate on Friday. What other questions do we have?
That same person says, I live in California. Should I look elsewhere?
Yes and no. I mean, California, I know it's an expensive market, but there's distressed assets in California. It depends, what you're looking for. There's opportunity in California. And when you find financially distressed assets right down the road, I encourage people to shop in their own backyard. And I understand where they're coming from with the question, because California right now is a stimulated market, very expensive market, but then people are moving out of the California market because of tax purposes. And so I would evaluate your situation. So it really depends, are you from California and is your family there? And if the answer is yes, and you have kids, a husband, a wife, you're from that area, and if you've never invested in real estate elsewhere, my encouragement to you would be to stay in your own backyard. So if that's in California, I would encourage you to invest right there in California, because not everybody's going to pick up and leave California. California, the wealthy are going to stay on Beverly Hills. Beverly Hills is not going to be vacant without wealthy people. It's going to still be Beverly Hills. West Hollywood is still going to be West Hollywood, because financial crises and stuff doesn't affect the wealthy. The wealthy don't get affected by tax laws, because they understand how to write off assets and how to protect their assets. The people that get affected by taxes and get affected by this is the middle class and lower middle class. So California will be fine over the long haul. Will they take a little beating in the interim time? Yes. How you position yourself in that interim time is up to you. You can say yes to good properties and no to bad properties. So my answer to you is, if you're going to invest in California, invest. I got a buddy, Brandon Elliott. He's killing. He's knocking it down in San Diego. He continues to buy assets in the height of the market, turning them, is making profits on them. He's a great example of how you can profit in California. This gentleman started with nothing off a credit card debt. He leveraged his credit cards to be able to get into real estate in California, and he's been immensely successful doing it. And so he's a perfect testimony of success in California. Now, there is less expensive real estate in other sectors of the country where there's great profitability. If you're in a position where you can travel, you can partner with people, or you know other cities that you can invest in, then absolutely, I would always encourage you to go out and explore those markets. We do. But the best place to learn is right in your backyard. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Real Talk on Real Estate, Friday morning with Jerome Maldonado. We thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to pound that thumbs up button and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content just like this. And until next week, we'll see you on the other side.